Guatemala's human rights situation in 2023 was marked by deterioration of systemic and structural inequalities and discrimination, particularly affecting indigenous peoples and people of African descent. Of particular concern also were the increasing attacks against judicial independence and the justice system. My office recorded a substantial increase in attacks and reprisals against justice officials investigating cases of corruption and serious human rights violations. In 2023, we registered 71 cases, a 69% increase compared to the year before. I encourage the government and Congress to take urgent measures to ensure the safety of justice officials. Conditions must also be created to enable the return of those who have left the country in fear for their safety. Following last year's presidential election, a series of legal actions taken by the Office of the Attorney General particularly impacted the integrity of the electoral process, affecting democracy and the rule of law. They included efforts to lift the impunity of the President and Vice President-elect and several members of Congress and justices of the Supreme Electoral Tribunal, as well as of other electoral officers. We will continue closely watching this situation, given our serious concerns about the compatibility of these actions with the separation of powers and Guatemala's constitution. We will also closely monitor the upcoming election process of justices to the high courts. My report also raises serious concerns on attacks against human rights defenders, journalists, and indigenous authorities, urging for the adoption of a stronger public policy to protect them. Madam Vice President, the ongoing violence against women in Guatemala remains profoundly troubling. LGBTQ+ people are also being targeted by violence, including killings. I call on the authorities to prevent and put an end to this shocking violence and fully to investigate all cases. While I note and welcome the advances made in some emblematic cases of violations of human rights committed during the internal armed conflict, I am concerned about serious setbacks in others. One issue of concern is the proposed legal initiative to extinguish criminal liability for people accused and convicted of international crimes committed during the conflict. I urge the Congress to abstain from adopting any legislation that is contrary to international human rights standards. I thank the government of Guatemala for the recent extension of our host country agreement until January 2027. I recently met with President Arevalo in Geneva and expressed to him my deep appreciation for his commitment to the human rights cause. We look forward to continuing our work, assisting the state in transitioning towards a more democratic governance and in their work to address structural discrimination with human rights at the core.